Welcome to One Way to Machines and the 8th Gen Honda Civic series. Alright, so I'm doing the winter tire changeover on the silver Civic here. And you can see there right under the steering rack boot, it's all oily there. It's not very visible here, but that boot on the steering rack also has a lot of oil on it. This is most likely a steering system leak. This car has 225,000 kilometers right now at its age. It's a 2007. So next time you're in this area, check to see if you have a leak like this, and just keep your power steering reservoir topped up. You don't necessarily need to go into changing the whole steering rack or any O-rings on lines that may be leaking. Just keep it topped up. Here's a zoom in so you can see the oil leakage and debris on the boot. And also the fact that it has traveled down the subframe. You can see a lighter film up here, indicates that it's most likely coming from the steering system. Although there's a low chance that it's an engine oil leak, but in this case, from my experience on cars, this is coming from some component of the power steering. Alright, so looking a little bit further into this, it seems like it also has a torn axle boot, which could be flinging grease, and it might not actually be related to the power steering at all, because this car has no power steering issues or low oil. I'm going to try to zoom into this area here, where the axle is on the driver's side. I can't give you any angle on it, but where I'm shining the light, right in that pocket, the camera won't focus, but there's grease flung all over the place. Also, there's a lot of fluid on the tranny. This could be tranny fluid, it could be oil, but I'm gonna have to find the source of this too. This is the first time I've been under this car since after winter, so we'll see what happens. In terms of the axle, as long as it doesn't start clicking in the summer, you can usually get away with it, but in the winter with road salt and debris, it can deteriorate that axle quite fast. So this stuff feels like tranny fluid, but as I dig into this deeper this summer, subscribe so that you can find out where all these leaks are coming from once they're all sorted out. Alright, over here on the passenger side now, that leak on the subframe is from the spool valve gasket for the VTEC, which I've mentioned in a previous video. It manifests itself as an oil leak at the back of the block. Now, if I can get the light on there, probably can't see it, but way inside, there's some grease leaking from that axle. This axle has been changed before, so it's probably gotten damaged again. Again, I'm gonna run it for this summer. Winter, you don't want to do it, and we'll see if she starts clicking at some point. Okay, I'm coming in from the back of the brake disc this time. Okay, that's the back of the engine, where you're going to see a ton of oil buildup from that spool valve gasket that just leaks down the side on the passenger side from the back. We'll take care of all this in future videos. You can also see some of the oil on the axle. That could be some grease coming down from the boot up there. You can see the leaking grease boot a bit better now. And it can also be from the spool valve leaking on the back of the engine, and then the wind pushing it onto the axle. We'll go more into depth in the spool valve from different angles later when we do an oil change. But for now, these are all things you should look out for a plus 200K 8th Gen Civic. Alright, so here's a winter tire changeover tip for the 8th Gen Civic so that you do not scathe your wheel studs, because wheel studs like to get damaged on these cars. Who knows what material they're made of. But I'm going to give you a tip so that you don't fumble around too much. When you put rims on 8th Gen Civics, the wheel hub and the wheel design are in a way that the wheel tries to tilt itself out unless you're holding it with firm pressure in the center. Well, I mean, you have to pick up your lug nuts, you have to put on your hubcap. In all these instances, if you're not holding it with your knee, it can try to come out and puts a lot of pressure on those old wheel studs and tries to scrape the threads away. So what you're gonna do, this is a little tip that I'm gonna give you, is you see here's the hubcap, okay? There is the small indentation that aligns with your air tube, okay? Click the wheel cover onto the steel rim first, and then put the rim on with your lug nuts handy, and you will have less of a chance of the rim tilting back on you and scathing your wheel studs, creating a bigger job for you. Alright, so there you see all the holes are lined up, the little air thing is lined up, and I'm going to stand up the wheel so that you can see that the hubcap won't fall out if you have all your clips present. Okay? You can just use this and go install it on your car. Less chance of damaging your wheel studs on a wheel changeover.